Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join our show today. Oh boy, the hits just keep coming. I'm not sure I've ever seen a moment in my life, all 58 years of my life, where this happened. If there was ever a no-brainer, Bill Belichick, of course, one of the greatest, probably the greatest football coach in NFL history, is not going to be in the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. Now, everyone knows he'll eventually get into the Hall of Fame, but really, I mean, there is some cachet about being a first ballot Hall of Famer. And if anyone ever deserved it, it was Bill Belichick. And this was kind of his thought on, what does a guy have to do? I mean, what does a guy have to do to make it into the Hall of Fame? And that's a really good question. I mean, and this is the guy who should write the book on how you get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't even have to go into any aspect of his career and try to convince you, try to say anything, why this guy does not belong in the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's a person out there in the world. And I think this was the telltale sign to me. Show me the person, show me anyone who says, oh, Bill Belichick does not deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Everyone says he's a Hall of Famer, but then he should be in the Hall of Fame right now. For example, here's all of what these people had to say. Roll all of the text and tape and everything. and you can see it, man, there's no way I read that right? Ain't no way Bill Belichick ain't first ballot Hall of Famer. That's impossible, egregious, and quite frankly, disrespectful. Thank you, LeBron. Couldn't agree more. Bill Belichick, head coaching rings, 6 Super Bowls, 9 conference champions, 31 playoff wins, 302 regular season wins, 333 total wins. What more does a guy have to do not to get into the Super Bowl? Adam Schefter said Bill Belichick, the 8-time Super Bowl winning head coach, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Per Seth Wickersham and DVN Jr., Belichick fell short of 40 out of 50 votes needed for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. Keep them coming. Now, this was a Patrick Mahomes, insane. Don't even understand how this could be possible. I mean, really, keep going. SMH. What does SMH mean? I don't even know what that means. I don't want to know what it means.
Smack my head.
Yeah, smack my head. I can't be reading this right. This is JJ Watt. This has to be some knockoff Hall of Fame or something. It can't be the actual NFL Hall of Fame. There's not a single world whatsoever in which Bill Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Text from NFL executives: the 10 plus people that didn't vote for Bill Belichick should be exposed. WTF, this is crazy. All right. I think we have some video. Let's show the video. Come on, let's keep it going.
It's embarrassing. If I were a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame voting body, I'd be embarrassed about it, and I'd make it very clear that I was not one of the 11 plus who decided not to vote for him. I used to be a Baseball Hall of Fame voter. We took a lot of grief about that process, which is absolutely fairer and more sensible than this one. The Pro Football Hall of Fame voting process is inane and should be completely overhauled. And this has been true for a long time. Maybe this will prompt something of a change because, again, they should be embarrassed. There's no reason not to put Bill Belichick in the Hall of Fame. You're going to tell me Spygate and Deflategate. This is a voting body that has for years insisted that it only focuses on what happened on the field. Are you going to hold Tom Brady out over Spygate and Deflategate too? Like, are you going to be consistent with that? And by the way, there's guys in there that have been suspended for performance-enhancing drugs, for gambling, for all kinds of things. So now, when it comes to Belichick, it matters, and it's never mattered before. I think it's a crock.
I love it. Stephen A. What does Stephen A. have to say?
Now let me say this to everybody about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We should boycott that bad boy. Nobody should show up. Nobody should want to go into that Hall of Fame if Bill Belichick ain't in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. 6 championships as a head coach, 8 overall, 2 as a defensive coordinator, universally recognized as arguably the greatest coach in the history of football. And if you don't definitively feel that way, it clearly is a discussion. There is no reason on earth that Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know T.O. got robbed as a wide receiver. That shouldn't have happened, by the way, okay? What are you going to do next? If it's going to be because of Spygate, if it's going to be because of Deflategate, are you going to use that excuse to keep Tom Brady out as a first ballot Hall of Famer next? I'm telling you right now, there are certain things that are so egregious, it stinks to the high heavens that you could do something like this to this man. I don't give a damn that he was a bit truculent with the media. I don't care that he wasn't the most inviting person in the world. His credentials are his credentials. In this country, in the world, your resume is supposed to matter. He did it on an elite level. And oh, by the way, remember the whole Spygate thing that was going on? Wasn't it immediately after that they went undefeated for the regular season and then went to the Super Bowl before losing to the New York Giants? Didn't they go like 17-0 before losing in the Super Bowl, basically to show the world, oh, y'all think we cheated? We cheat now while we're busting your living ass every week rather? That's what they were doing until they ran into the New York Giants and they were sacking or they were pressuring the hell out of Tom Brady. This is a disgraceful decision. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think anybody should want to be in a Hall of Fame. Because what kind of Hall of Fame do you have if you can find a justification to omitting and keeping out the greatest coach arguably in the history of the sport, who is an 8-time champion? He has to use both hands to put the championship rings on his fingers. That's the guy you keep out of the Hall of Fame as a first ballot. It's a disgrace, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Nobody should want to show up.
Okay, there you have. So when I heard this, my reaction, of course, is absolutely the same. It's like, this is just, it's ridiculous. There's no way. There's nothing you can say. There's no explanation. There's no reason. There's nothing out there in the world that says Bill Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's absolutely the most insane thing, ridiculous, all of the adjectives you can come up with. And this was what, and I'm like, okay, come on, what is it? And we're going to go into all the speculative reasons as to why there was some hesitation, as maybe Bill Belichick shouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame. But no one has said this. I would love to see the person. I would love to see the person who says, no, he doesn't belong on the first ballot. I'd love to see at least 11 people on that voting committee said, no, I really don't think, I don't think Belichick belongs. I don't think it's even a question that he belongs. It's that he belongs in the first ballot. And here's why this is so crazy to me. It absolutely 100% makes you pause and say, what is the Hall of Fame? Can we trust it? Are they really getting it right? Are they getting the best people in there? Are they doing it the right way? Is there this I don't know, biased? Is there this pettiness? Is there this, we'll show you this kind of thing? It's like you wanted, as they talk, his petulance towards the media. I quite frankly found it amusing. And I know that in the NFL, you're required to answer to the media, to make yourself available to the media, but it doesn't mean you have to have a great personality around the media. I mean, not everybody does. Not everybody not everyone's comfortable or good at it, but there's also this mindset of, and maybe we all should learn from this, that the most important thing, the only thing I'm focused on is getting my team to championships and winning. End of discussion. That's what the league is about. It's about a championship. It's about competing. It's about having the best product on the field. And by the way, if you don't, you're fired. So Bill Belichick's first responsibility is to doing a very good job, not to sound great to the media, not to be their best friend or their best buddy, which brings me to the media. And it's always my question, how in the world do you, as a member of the media, and I guess I could consider myself a member of the media, and by the way, I don't. I'm just a person who goes, I lived this. I experienced it. Let me give you the perspective of someone who was actually out on the field, who went through the experience from a first person perspective, not someone who sat up in a climate controlled booth with a typewriter and typed words from their opinion, their speculation, and not really understanding in depth what is actually going on in a locker room, all the day to day, every aspect of it. And for them to go, oh yeah, by the way, it's just our subjective opinion. We don't think Bill Belichick belongs in the Hall of Fame. And this is quite frankly why I have a hard time with this anyways, because every year I look at these players and some of them that go in there and I go, that I wouldn't pick that guy. I think there's question about really that's what a Hall of Famer is today. And yet here, Bill Belichick is one of those, there's no way that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no one on this freaking earth that would say that. Not a single person. And so when these things happen, I'm like, how does that happen? Why does that happen? Are you kidding me? And my first reaction was, who did this? It's my first, I just want to see who they are. I would love to hear their rationale for why Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Please enlighten all of us. Please come forward. Have some, some guts. Now I understand Bill Polian has made comments in the past about, for the things that happened with Bill Belichick, with all the Spygate, the Deflategate, all of those things. And I'm going to get into that in a minute about my opinion, which I've shared for years and it hasn't changed now. But there was this kind of, all right, you think you're all that and you're just going to walk into the Hall of Fame. We're just going to show you how hard it is to get in the Hall of Fame. And that's just absolutely asinine and ridiculous. I mean, this is just like, and so then Bill Polian says, well, I'm not really sure if I did vote for him or didn't vote for him. I was like, maybe 99% sure, 95% sure that I voted for him. And it's like, you didn't vote for him. Like, come on. Like, clearly. And so someone has an axe to grind for years. And that's that. And believe me, that goes on in the NFL. Oh, does it ever go on in the NFL? I mean, Paul Brown, who had Bill Walsh as an assistant, would not endorse him to be a head football coach. Bill Walsh, who has an unbelievable coaching tree, was an incredible football coach, a Hall of Fame football coach, was really the master, was the elite, was the standard in the NFL for so many years. Paul Brown had a vendetta against Bill Walsh. And it took him a long time, and he had to go through a lot of channels before he ever even became a head football coach in the NFL. And that happens. And guys get blackballed, guys get and it's mean, it's vindictive, it's ridiculous. And it's certainly not on, hey, this is a merit thing. By the way, it's really a lot of who that happens in the NFL, how you get jobs, how you end up on teams with certain coaches. I personally have experienced this in my career, and it happens, and it's absolutely ridiculous, insane that it does. Okay, so I want to talk about the scandals, and so there's these gates, Spygate, Deflategate, and it's kind of funny. And a big deal is made out of it. The NFL made a big deal out of it. And I understand the reasoning behind the NFL making a big deal out of it, because it's one of those things where you go, there's an integrity to the game. It's just like officiating. If anyone feels like it's being manipulated, or if it's not on the level, or this team, had a massively unfair advantage over another team, then it destroys the integrity of the league. So major fines, loss of first round draft choices for the New England Patriots. And here's the thing about this, okay? The Patriots were not alone. They're not the only team who's ever done something of this nature. And I know for a fact that that's the case. When you are in a massively high highly competitive league where you lose your job, you get fired. If you're and it's in the competition so close, you're always looking for that advantage, that edge, anything you want. I spied as a player. I watched the other team's coordinators. I tried when I was in the huddle anytime I could. I guarantee you I was not the only person that ever did this. By the way, the defensive players would look into our huddle to try to read my lips. They had coaches who actually videotaped the TV production of games so they could listen to the snap count. There were all kinds of things that were done all the time, and people pushing the envelope of the rules and of what is actually right and wrong. And I guarantee you, every coach, every player on offense, on defense, even on special teams, those sweet little innocent kickers and punters, they did all kinds of things to gain an advantage. By the way, there's not a team in the NFL who did not doctor footballs. No, we did it every single week. And the kickers were the ones that did it. And they did it because you needed a more supple feel to this leather that was just rock hard and had a waterproofing substance sport on it. You couldn't even hold on to a football out of the box that was an NFL football. And it's changed. You look at the balls now, they're a dark color of brown because they put the shoe polish on them, or they've rubbed them out, or they've changed them. They're different. And it's because it's almost impossible to throw them right out of the box. And guys were doing this, and this was common practice. And there was when I was with the Miami Dolphins, and that was back before they had the earpiece in the helmet, and the coach talking to the player through the microphone. And we would get notice. There are advanced scouts here from a team we're playing in 2 weeks, and they will be trying to steal your signals on the sideline. And they're just people. They bought a ticket. They're up in the stands, and their sole purpose is to come here and advance scout and look for any possible ways that they can steal our signals. So you need to take precautions so that does not happen. And it happens. And the only thing that was a challenge here was that the New England Patriots got caught doing it. Do I think it has an impact on the game? Does it significantly change the outcome of the game? Well, I'll just tell you this. If you're trying to steal signals and they change their signals up, or they do something, and now you've totally depended on the signals and now you don't have them, which could definitely be the case, then guess what? You're in trouble. And so do I think the scandals with the Deflategate and the Spygate and all of that stuff, do I think it diminished at all Bill Belichick? Not 1 cent, not 1 minute, not 1 instant do I think that happened, because it happened across the NFL. And if people are not willing to say that happened, or I'm willing to take whatever chance I can, offensive linemen would spray substances on their uniforms so that the defensive linemen could not grab their jerseys. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on. The way people tackle, by the way, is against the rules, and they still do it, and they did it at the time. And it was a well-known practice by very well-known coaches who are considered choir boy people, very faithful and God-fearing people, did these things in the NFL. So don't give me this whole thing about Bill Belichick needs to be diminished or punished, or we're going to show you because you had all these scandals. And I know people are like, well, it was really serious, and yeah, it was really serious, but everybody was really doing it. And there are people in the NFL today who are in the Hall of Fame who actually had used performance enhancing. I'll probably bet that 90% of the people in the Hall of Fame use some type of substance enhancement at some point in their life. That was not, it's the dirty little secret in the NFL. And it's all about just gaining an advantage. It's all about keeping yourself like really focused and having the capability to show up every single week and play at a high level. And the things that you are willing to put your body through, you do because it's so hard to do. This is an amazing career and opportunity, and people push the line all the time. We used to have walkthrough practices when I was with the Miami Dolphins the day before a game in the visiting stadiums. It was something that later on, and I always used to think, man, we're showing them our play. Like, anyone could be around looking and seeing, and if we're just out in public here, okay, but that was something that we always did. When I played for the Miami Dolphins, you showed up the day before the game at the stadium you were playing and had a walkthrough practice, had your Saturday practice in the visiting team stadium. I kind of liked it personally, but I didn't think it was, as far as being secret, a really good idea. So there's nothing about Bill Belichick from the escape gate or the scandals, right? Now, Tom Brady. Some people are like, yeah, look Belichick before Brady. Look at him after Brady. And it's like, okay, look at Don Shula when he had, the Killer Bees defense or the no-name defense, and he had Larry Zonka, and he had, all those Hall of Famers and Jim Kick and Bob Greasy, and he had just an unbelievable team. But Shula didn't win, he didn't win a Super Bowl after that for a long time in his career. And he had Dan Marino. And you look at Chuck Noll, and there was a time when Chuck Noll wasn't very good in the beginning and at the end of his career. But during the time of, 11 Hall of Famers, but he's still in the Hall of Fame. Same thing with Tom Landry. I mean, they kicked Tom Landry out of town, and it was scandalous. How dare you? But Tom Landry, those teams were terrible at the end of Tom Landry's career. And by the way, guess who made Tom Brady? I mean, really, if anyone in their life should thank someone, it should be Tom Brady. You don't, if you're Drew Bledsoe, who was considered one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL at the time, was playing at an extremely high level. He gets injured, and little old Tom Brady comes in, and guess what? When when Drew Bledsoe was healthy again, Belichick didn't go back to him. Tom Brady was invented because of Bill Belichick. He gave him the opportunity, and he kept him in there. And it wasn't like, oh, wow, Tom Brady, his first year of playing, was just lighting it on fire. Like, he just wasn't screwing things up. And he, he played decent, and he played fine, and they won the Super Bowl. But Bill Belichick had to make a gutsy call. And I guarantee you at that time, when he put Tom Brady in there, he wasn't going, oh yeah, Tom Brady's going to end up winning me 6 Super Bowls. He's going to go down as, the greatest quarterback, blah, 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 blah. He didn't know that at that time. He had no freaking idea. So this whole idea of, well, it was Tom Brady that, and that diminished it. No. People are so like, it's all about just one person. And that's the ego and arrogance of so many people. It's, it takes a village when you win in the NFL. It's not just one person. It's not just because of this guy. Now, there are guys that have a massive influence and impact, and the coach is one of them. And so is the quarterback. And you get that combination, right? You surround it with the right people, which is what a coach does. And you still have to coach them. You still have to teach them. And the turnover that the Patriots had in their organization and still remain competitive for 2 decades of just dominance. That wasn't just Tom Brady. And Tom Brady should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure there's a lot of those guys that'll end up I don't know. I mean, and so when Tom Brady does come up to be in the Hall of Fame, are you telling me that you're not going to put him in the first ballot? Are you seriously going to tell me that? Because he was a part of all that too. Maybe not the Spygate. Look, I'm just telling you, people, players cheat. Players look for ways to get advantages, and they do it all the time. They're going to continue to do it all the time. It's not something new. And it's one of those, you're only cheating if you get caught. Unfortunately, they just got caught. Now, I never deflated a football. I never videotaped anyone. I didn't do that, but I can't say that I'm, the only. I mean, I'm sure other people have done stuff like that. I'm absolutely sure they've done stuff like that, and probably won. So this whole thing with Tom Brady, and that so here it's, well, Spygate, he cheated. No, Tom Brady, no. What else is there? What else? What else is there? I mean, no one comes close to Bill Belichick and the success he's had. No one in their right mind, like, and I'm going to reiterate this, and I'm going to say it again. It 1000% gives the Hall of Fame zero credibility. You're gonna question everything they do. It diminishes. It's disrespectful to the Hall of Fame. It doesn't say anything about what it really is. And I would love for these people to come forward. Please come forward. And I don't think they will, because they know how cowardly and how stupid it is. Now, there is one more explanation, and it's the process of voting. And there was a voter who came out that actually said, you can get kind of tripped up by the voting process, especially as a coach and as a senior finalist. And so I looked into this, and because I kind of heard it and I wanted to understand it correctly. So when you're a senior nominee and finalist, there's a special section, and it ends up being 5 individuals. One is a coach, one is a contributor, like an owner, and 3 are players from the past. And so this year, I believe Robert Kraft is one of the finalists. And I believe you have Roger Craig, you have Elsie Greenwood, and you have Ken Anderson. And I've been a big proponent of Ken Anderson. I know a lot of people feel the same way about the contribution of Roger Craig and Elsie Greenwood. And you go, and it's really hard if you get passed up after a certain time to get voted in. And so they were trying to make it where more of these senior players were able to get in, because there's new blood. And we had Dan Pompei on, and he's actually a voter. If I'd have known this when I had him on Monday, I would have asked him this question about, did you vote? And I would believe that Dan Pompei voted for Bill Belichick. I just would. It's just common sense. And I don't want to put him on the spot. I do, because if he did, I would love to know, why did you not vote for him? I'd love to hear the reason. And so what they do is they have 5 people, and only 3 of them get in. Or you can only vote for 3 of them. And in order to get in, you have to have an 80% approval. So it's very possible that people could go, and because you do it individually, you don't sit there collective and go, okay, well, what are we going to do? And so each voter goes, well, I know Bill Belichick's going to get in, so I'm going to cast my vote to try to help out some of these other guys, because I think Ken Anderson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And the highest vote getter goes in of those 5 people. And of course, if they receive over 80% of the vote, then more could go in, but it's highly unlikely. And so this is the only explanation that might make some sense, where they just say, yeah, I just know Belichick's going in, so I'm going to try to help Roger Craig, or I'm going to try to help, Robert Kraft. Or maybe people said, I'm not voting for Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick in the same year. Maybe Robert Kraft said, do not, maybe Robert Kraft said, we're not going in. I don't want my induction to be minimized by Bill Belichick. And guess what? I'm an owner, and I'm the most important person in the room. NFL owners they trump everything, because Robert Kraft is still with the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick isn't, and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. So it's a funky, it's a wonky type of process. And it's wonky because you may have multiple people that certainly, I mean, Robert Kraft certainly deserves to be in as it. If you're putting Jerry Jones like that, and that's again the whole thing. Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame. And so, the bar is, you could argue the bar on where it's set. And if he's in, there's absolutely no question Robert Kraft is in the Hall of Fame. No question about it. And Robert Kraft probably was voted into the Hall of Fame. And so in a year where you have legitimately multiple people in this category that truly deserve to be in, but they cannibalize each other, and it makes it really hard. And that has to change. And I think that's the feeling from around the league, from people, is there has to be a glitch in the system. There has to be some weird thing that happened or that happens for this to come to pass. Because there isn't a person out there in the world that goes, Bill Belichick, you're going to have to sit out on this one for a year. Bill Belichick is going to be in the Hall of Fame. But it's unfortunate that it's not the way it should be. And because there is, when it's like there's this hierarchy of significance in the world of professional football. There's like, you made a roster, you're on a team, then you're like a starter for a long time on a team, and then you're like a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro player. You're really good on your team. Then you're like a Hall of Famer, and then you're like a first ballot Hall. Like that is the pinnacle of excellence. And every player who plays in the NFL wants to be the very best. They want to, and they want to be recognized as that. And I'm sure people go, look, I'm in the Hall of Fame, okay? But there is this thing of, no, I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's said, and it's reflected, and people acknowledge it as a very significant achievement. And rightfully so. I mean, look, you're competing against this is a small fraternity competing against the very, very, very best in the world. And to be the very, very, very best of the very best is extremely special. And absolutely, Bill Belichick deserves to be there. And it's a shame that he's not. And I know this is going to dominate the headlines and things that are going around in the sports world today, and it should. We're gonna pause from it for a minute because there's a lot of other interesting things in sports. We'll get to those when we return. Some of these, it's like if you're a bad team, you fire coaches. If you're a good team, you fire coaches. And I'm trying to make sense of all this, and we'll talk about it and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. So glad you could join us. Oh, my goodness. I'm scratching my head about Bill Belichick. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And, I am not a smart man, but I do know that Bill Belichick belongs in the Hall of Fame on a first ballot. It's not rocket science. It's not that hard, people. And how that happened is an absolute just travesty of the whole process. And people should be embarrassed. And if it's a hole in the system, fix the system, overhaul it, do something, because you're gonna lose all credibility. And I'm not a fan of the Hall of Fame from the standpoint of I question the process. I wonder if it's really. I love the Hall of Fame. I love the Hall of Fame weekend. I love to hear the stories. I love to hear these players and where they came from and how they dreamed as these young boys, and then they became a product of their dreams. And they became, I think, all of them probably more than what they anticipated. And it's incredible. And it should be a very, very special thing. And Bill Belichick belongs there. So I just don't understand it. All right. Here's what else I don't understand. So Aaron Glenn finishes his very first year as the coach of the New York Jets. And I think Aaron Glenn was one of those guys, played against Aaron Glenn, really liked what he did in Detroit. I like his coaching style, like everything. I'm sure he's just drinking through a fire hose. I'm sure he's trying to figure out this whole process of how to be a coach. And I'm sure it's 10 times more difficult in New York with the New York Jets. Every time you wake up in the morning, they're questioning, they're scrutinizing, what you have for breakfast, how you got dressed for the day, where you spent your time, who you talked to, who you didn't talk to. I mean, every last little detail of your day is just overly analyzed, unfairly, by the way. The Jets are awful. It's a terrible organization. It doesn't. You don't need me to tell you that. Just look at them. People have had some moderate success there in the past, and if you ever had any success, if you ever turned around the Jets, you probably would be a first ballot Hall of Fame coach if that was the case. Aaron Glenn's trying to figure it out, but I guess the thing that scratches my head on this one is like, how do you fire 7 coaches? And that's what he's up to. He just fired his offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand. And I'm like, because if you're in the like you're an assistant coach and you're out there, because all these coaches, because by the way, the Senior Bowl is going on this week, and it's basically the convention of all conventions for coaches. So you're a head coach, or you're an assistant coach, and I guarantee you have to constantly be networking. You have to constantly be talking to and getting to know. You watch film on guys and kind of their strategy, and you see how they perform in their functions, and you see what they do, and you see kind of the system that they want to. By the time you became a head coach, you should have a really, really good idea of who you want. Now, I know Aaron Glenn has reached out to John Gruden. John Gruden said, no, thank you, but no, thank you. And we're going to talk about all the ramifications of that. What does that mean? Because it's not like people are beating down the door for John Gruden and all of his kind of challenging situation. But I'm just perplexed that you could know that you're going to be a head coach someday, and you hire all these people, and you immediately just go, yeah, none of you worked. And it's like, is it really the coaches? Like, is it that many? I mean, 7 coaches is insane. And if it's really that many coaches, like, well, you're bad at hiring coaches. I mean, if you have to purge that many people, and it's like, if you're in these situations where it's like, I don't really know if you're any good. I don't know if you're going to work out. I don't know anything about you. So yeah, we'll give you a shot. And it's like, nope, yeah, next. And it's like one of those strategies for building sales teams. Like not everyone can sell things. And the theory is you just hire a bunch of people and you take them through the process, you train them, you introduce them to your product and your sales system, and you just burn through like, you get 20 people hired, and of those 20, maybe one ends up being a good sales rep. But you got to go through 20. And unfortunately, you don't have that luxury. I guess that's what he's doing in New York. He's just like, I'm going to do the churn and burn method of just getting a lot of people in here and see if anyone sticks. Then the question becomes, because this is a question for me, if I'm an assistant coach and I know a head coach is like a hair trigger, like, man, and everyone understands the way the game's played, right? They all understand, hey, look, this is a high pressure business. This is something that, you got to produce or you're out kind of thing. And I believe there are positions where you can hide, because so much of it is coordinators. Are you good line coach, good D coordinator, good offensive coordinator, special teams? That's kind of the core of the coaches that you really got to nail. Then the other pieces kind of fit into place. And so those coaches, like a running back coach, a quarterback coach, a tight end coach, a DB coach, maybe a quarterback coach might have some significance, but good quarterback coaches, don't necessarily get fired. Or even bad ones for that matter. And it's when you get into those really crucial roles where you're overseeing all of it, it then becomes interesting. Now, on the flip side of it, the Broncos and Sean Payton fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. Now, I think this is, to me, just on principle, like this is a one of those things where, how do you fire Lombardi? Like just that name, like how can you fire Vince Lombardi, right? And it's not Vince Lombardi, it's Joe Lombardi, a relative. But it's almost like in the NFL, you can't fire a Lombardi. You can fire, anyone else in any other name, but not Lombardi. Now, so my question about this, so Aaron Glenn, right? He's on the losing side of this, and these guys are out. And so then you're on the other side of it, and you're winning, and you're a game away, you're a broken ankle away from winning a Super Bowl. I think the Broncos would have won the Super Bowl had Bo Nix been playing. I really do. I think the whole situation with Bo Nix was definitely one where that was just really painful. And so here you have a team that's had a remarkable year, a remarkable 2 years with Bo Nix, and really you just feel like this team's just getting a lot better. And by the way, this team's going to get massively better because they got about, I don't know, $25-35 million of dead money with Russell Wilson. So imagine what they can like if the Denver Broncos are not in and winning the Super Bowl next year, they suck. Okay? To have all that money, to have Bo Nix on a rookie contract, you basically can pay every position. You should not be deficient anywhere on both sides of the ball. You should be able to put together just an incredible team. Now, after next year, or the year after that, depending, then you're probably gonna run into some challenges. But man, the Broncos they're in the catbird seat right now, and it will have a huge impact on what's going on. And so to me, I'm like, you're there, and now you're firing coaches. And of course, Joe Lombardi and Sean Payton said, I haven't been happy with the offense for some time, and maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. But it's just fascinating to me how you're winning and it's not winning enough, or it's not winning the right way, and I think that's, and you can't fault Sean Payton. But Joe Lombardi's been with him for some time. And so there must have been something amiss in that relationship. Who knows? But I'm just wow. I'm shocked and absolutely scratching my head. The whole Lombardi thing is kind of, I mean, that's a little tongue in cheek thing with Lombardi because that's sacrilegious. But a guy that your team's been well, and I guess the other part of it for me that's so strange is like your starting quarterback goes down at the worst possible moment, and then you're with your backup who you have confidence in, but he's playing in a game that just has horrendous conditions, and he's trying to run your offense, and Drake May's just trying to run, right? He's just like, man, forget this. I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna if I can find a way to get a first down, I'm gonna do it, run the football because we're not throwing it anywhere today. And so it's kind of like these are unusual circumstances, and I think it's a little bit unfair, I guess, to put that on the offensive coordinator. Because like, well, we didn't have, we had 17 yards. I mean, it was ugly, and maybe there was an ability to do more offense. Maybe they needed to look a different way, and maybe that's what Sean Payton is all upset about. But Sean Payton has a lot of say-so in everything that goes on. All right. I have this clip right here. I want to play it. Mike McCarthy was asked, because he's new Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, about Aaron Rodgers. And they do have a history together. In fact, they have a Super Bowl together. Win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way. It's funny how these things come full circle. Here's what Mike McCarthy had to say about Aaron Rodgers.
Do you want Aaron Rodgers back as your quarterback next year?
That's nice the way he asked that, right? That was slick. But I mean, definitely. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. But I think just like anything, knowing Aaron long enough, going through seasons, I think when players, to see Mel Blunt here, I mean, when guys are up at that stage of their career, they need to step away and decompress it. I think that's very important. The game is so emotional, what these men commit to and what they put into it. I think that time away is important, and I have spoken to Aaron, and so that's really where we are there. But I was able to sit back and watch the games. I watched most of the Pittsburgh games on TV, and I thought he was a great asset for the team.
That's going to be a fascinating to watch because it's going to tell you they know each other very well. Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron kind of had that year. Felt like to me, Aaron Rodgers has a little bit more in the gas tank, and being reunited with an old coach. And it did end. I don't know if it ended on a good note, a bad note, whatever note. But Mike McCarthy took the job at Pittsburgh, and knowing that there is the possibility of Aaron Rodgers coming back. And that may be the best possible option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm in love with the idea of Mike McCarthy, who's a Pittsburgh guy, going back. He saw how emotional he got returning to Pittsburgh. He's from there. You listen to his accent. I'm sure it gets thicker and thicker as he gets more at home and home. And I love that. I love that he's with the Steelers. They're a patient organization. And this is a guy that's I think it's the right pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers at this time. Now, how long he coaches there, I don't know, because he's certainly 62 years old. And and so they like to get him a little bit younger than that, but feels like the right move for the Steelers at this time. And it's going to be fascinating to see where that ends up with Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's take a break. We come back. Hey, the Senior Bowl is happening right now. And I want to give my thoughts on the Senior Bowl and what that really means when the Down and Dirty returns here in just a minute.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty, Scott Mitchell here. So glad you could be a part of our show. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. Hope you have gotten down and dirty. We got a whole lot more today. We got longtime great NFL wide receiver Herman Moore, perennial Pro Bowler, is going to join the show here coming around the bend, and got a lot of fun things to chat with Herman over. But before we get there, the Senior Bowl is going on this week, and the Senior Bowl is always fascinating, and it's fascinating to me, and it's one of those places where I think if a player is going to make a move, it's at the Senior Bowl. Like if you really want, I believe, if you really want a chance to improve yourself, or at least to reinforce, because a lot of people will tell you that there's not one thing that makes or breaks you, and I beg to differ on that a little bit. That they have a pretty good idea of these players, what they're capable of. These players are so exposed, they're so evaluated, from such a younger age now, and you have to be, because a lot of younger players enter the NFL. But there are moments when you've watched the film, you've watched the games, but now you have an opportunity to stand next to sit into meetings, to see that individual, how they go through a normal practice process that they'll go through in the NFL. And that really helps you get a very good indication of where a player is. Now, I remember Richmond Webb, who I played with the Miami Dolphins, a really good left tackle, and I think should be in the Hall of Fame. Was just outstanding. But they talked about coaching him in the Senior Bowl, the Miami Dolphins, and how it really kind of, that's the moment that happened for Richmond Webb. And so you really have this opportunity, to showcase yourself and really make it a big deal. Now, the other side of it is just all the coaching stuff. And I love that, because every coach, everyone, it's the coaches convention. And I just, to me, before I die, I think one of the things I would love to do is go and just hang out in the stands, right? And just listen in, watch the networking and all the back and forth that goes on with these coaches at the Senior Bowl. And I think the Senior Bowl matters. Clearly it matters. And this is the NFL sanctioned. This is where they all are. So if you're a player, you either reinforce or you kind of get your name out there, and you really get on people's radar in a significant way. And I just think it's the coolest thing in the world, where you have this. It's the best test drive you could possibly have. If you're going to buy a new vehicle, you're going to go and you get to spend a lot of time with it. So it's a very cool thing that I like and see, and that's actually going on right now and something that's certainly worth watching and paying attention to. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we get back, none other than the amazing Herman Moore, former NFL wide receiver, Detroit Lions, and my friend, joins us on the show here in just a minute.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
At Matt Piffle, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiffle.com and start celebrating your story today.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty here with Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join us. Like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff. It's much appreciated. More than anything, though, I just, to the bottom of my soul, appreciate that you actually tune in and listen to what we have to say on the show. So I'm super excited right now to bring to the program, and we're going to get a little down and dirty here with my former teammate, one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play in the NFL, a longtime perennial Pro Bowl player, and a guy that was always open. Detroit Lion great Herman Moore joins the show. Herman, how you doing today? How's life? Did you get affected by those big storms in Michigan?
Yeah, I got affected by them like everyone else, but I stayed inside. I'm a smart guy. I'm from the South, so I don't need to go build snowmen, and I don't need to go make angels in the snow. So I do it the right way. You sit by the fireplace and you chill.
So I moved from Miami, Florida, when I signed as a free agent with Detroit, and it was like February, and I've never felt cold like I felt that first winter in Detroit. How have you lived there for so long? Like I marvel at this. I was having a conversation with one of my neighbors who's from Wisconsin, and they're just like, because I live in a it's beautiful outside today. It's going to be in the 60s today, and I like the warm weather. So how in the heck have you survived all of those Detroit, Michigan winters?
Well, because I came here when I was basically a young adult. I was 22 years old, 23. Yeah. And I've been here now longer than anywhere else. So Michigan's become my home away from Virginia. And I always like to tell people I was born in Virginia, but I was raised in Michigan. So this is really like a home. My kids are from here, and my relationships in my adult life have been from here. So this is kind of like my home. And plus, my parents, I have my mother here, my sister's here.
Oh,
and
nice.
Most of my family.
Yeah, I say that kind of kiddingly because I really enjoyed living in Michigan, and I have friends outside of you. I mean, I have people that know and still know, and I have family that actually still lives in Michigan, and so it's a great place. It really is, and it's a great sports town. There's just a passionate fan base, and they have all the big sports there, and they're crazy about all their different sports. I woke up today, or I got this late yesterday, and I got to get your reaction on this because it has my head scratching, and of course that's Bill Belichick, and he's not been voted in. Well, I think we had a conversation about the Hall of Fame last week, but what's your initial just gut reaction to Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Well, it exposes the system quite a bit, shows that it's broken. It's been broken for quite some time. There's a backlog of players that should be in the Hall of Fame based on their time and their era. When they played, and no one's really addressed it. And sometimes it takes those glaring optics like we have right now with Belichick to draw, I guess, attention to it. And then you got to really ask, who's been doing what? Are there political things that are happening behind the scenes that are making these processes more biased and subjective than the objectivity of players who are deserving and not? So I think we've seen that. I know a lot of people have put a lot behind him not getting in, perhaps because of discussion that was had behind the scenes,
right,
about Deflategate and all this other stuff. And I'm sure everybody's heard it now quite a bit, but that's irrelevant. That doesn't have a play for what we're talking about, because if that's the case, if we're going to get into that, then you're going to have to bring in the personal side of some of the players that are there and why they're there, if it's beyond just what they did on the field and some of the other things. So there's some broken pieces that are there, and unfortunately are getting exposed. And it's not to throw shade on the Pro Football Hall of Fame committee or any of those people, but obviously it's a system that's needed some reworking for some time, and for it to get here, I guess it's better late than never, I guess, to try and get some optics on it.
So I want to dive into that a little bit. The possible reasons why, right? So you've mentioned a couple. One is that the system is broke, and I actually went and looked and tried to understand how the vote actually happens. And so for a coach and for a contributor and they have three former, I guess, senior finalists, and they vote, and they only vote for 3 of the 5. So when you cast a vote for that senior, that coach, and the contributor, you're not everyone's voting for you can't vote for everyone. You only get to vote. So that may be the glitch in the system. What is it? What's your take on the glitch in the system, and how should it be fixed?
Well, let's dial it back. Let's really look at this. And I wanted to take a look at this from, let's say you have the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this isn't necessarily, in my opinion, it's not a business, so to speak, but it's a system. Because you're dealing with the system, you have to constantly reevaluate how it works, because as things change, you have to change along with it. You have to have adaptability. You have to be able to make things work. We see that happen a lot with the rule change. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to find out if it works or not. But let's peel it back and let's look at really the way this works, Scott. Why not, to avoid the backlog? And I was talking to Chrissy, who you and I both know, she does a lot.
Right.
She's does a lot with me with analytics and all these things. But when we look at it, there was a lot of first year eligibles that went in initially, and they started getting in right away. And then you had a log of those that were getting in. Then it started to backlog, because when we get out of that era of that player, they're going to be forgotten. And that list starts to grow long. Why do people have to wait till either after they're dead or they're 20, 30, 40 years down the line before they get recognition for their era? And no one's going to remember that. No one's going to remember what they did. It's going to be tough to come back and relook at that.
Right.
You need to start with the ones who are doing it at that time. I think you should be looking at it by decade. Clean up those decades. And then once you clean those up, you get into the modern day. And then once you're there, they're competing against their era. They're competing against the people that they played against. They're still fresh in their mind. That's what's happening. You can't, no one's going to remember unless we bring up highlight films. And most of the time, it's not going to be the best quality until you get to today's age, when they have nothing but a flood of media. Everyone's going to remember these guys. They're going to know them for a longer period of time that lives longer, with more footage, with more access. And now you're trying to make a case for those who played in a different era that the people don't know. So there's going to be inherent bias. And then also there's marketing, there's marketability. Their marketability goes away because it's 2 decades ago, it's 3 decades ago. So it's a disservice, and it really needs to be looked at to say, you know what, let's take care of the guys first when they're done. And now the guys now have to wait, and we'll catch up. But let's go back and clean up the backlog. Let's go back and clean up and see who we left out in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and let's get them caught up. And then we'll start to bring these other guys in. That's why I've always been opposed to in the modern era right now, and people can hate it, to where it's always these first ballot pieces, because that's basically you've left the other people behind, and they're going to constantly keep waiting because of the first ballot eligibility, and you're putting people in. And it's not that they're less deserving, but you're removing the people who did it first and previously from having their day at the appropriate time.
Yeah, it's shocking how quickly we forget about people. Like it is just, and especially in the world, because it's so readily in our face, and so you get inundated with information or recognition, and then it's just like over in a minute. You have these massive events, whether it's in the sports, it's like Bill Belichick. This is just kind of, the whole thing is going to blow up here for a day or two, and then it's just going to die out. And so it's really hard, just the way we're wired, just to really remember, or to go back and to really efficiently and correctly evaluate. This was a great player. Like, wait, are you kidding me? Like, look at, and so I think it's very, very easy to forget players. I want to go on to the whole like Spygate, Deflategate, all that stuff. And I want to, because it doesn't bother me that much. And it never has bothered me that much, because I know how it was as a player, that you're always pushing the envelope of the rules to get an advantage. I mean, we rubbed down the footballs, which is against the rules, by the way. And everyone did it. And the kickers wanted them, so we got that slick surface off the footballs. You were constantly looking for, how do I get my edge? There's so many players that used performance enhancing drugs, or they used some new medical procedure, or some, deer antler paste or whatever, to try to, help them recover. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff players used, or there were things where, like, I was constantly trying to steal signals. I don't know if you know this or not, but so
I didn't know that.
So Fritz Shermer, right? He was the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers for years. When we were on the field, I'm looking over at their sideline before I'm getting the play called in, to see him and his defensive signals. Like, what? All right, what are you? Because you can't tell all of them. All I know is when he goes like this with both his fingers and he does that, that's probably a blitz, right? And it's it's not hard to figure this stuff out. This is like base defense, and they'll go cover 1 or cover 2. It's just, it's anytime they did that, Herman, is like, that's bad. That's blitz. And I'm always looking for that stuff. And I always was. And, I found, like, I looked for tendencies in players. I looked for it in film. I looked for it during the game. I had this thing. I never told anybody this stuff, but I would look at linebackers, and I could always tell when a linebacker was blitzing. Like, I just look them in the eye.
Right.
You just look them in the eye, and if they look at you, they're not blitzing.
Right.
But if they look around, then they were, because when someone's they don't look you in the eye when they're trying to do something sneaky. And it wasn't hard, and it's just like, yeah, that guy's coming.
All right.
And just know it.
To your point, we all are looking for tendencies. We're looking for the edge. I don't have a problem with a person looking at a coach's signal and looking and see what they're trying to call, or the coverage they're bringing in, or all those things, because that's no different than when I read a defensive back. I look at how he's standing. I look at how his weight, if his weight's on his toes or on his heels, is he staggered in his stance? Is he looking inward? Looking like he's going to, show blitz and pop out of it. Are the safeties moving around? You're reading. So it's no different than reading a sideline and reading what the tendencies are of a coach. It's all fair. If you don't like it, mask it. Do something different, because you can actually use that against your opponent if they're trying to steal your signals and throw them off. So it becomes a competitive edge. I don't have a problem with any of those things. Where I have a problem is if it's all of a sudden it's one and none. But we all know it's about who gets caught, and we all do it. It's no different than pass interference and holding and penalties not being called. I mean, we can get into the details, and we can get into just, you know, some of those granular details when it comes to it. But at the end of the day, it's a competitive sport. I don't think there should be substance abuse and enhancement and all these things, because then that takes it over the line. I think there's got to be a level playing field, because there are some that are willing to stretch the limits in certain areas. But I think on the playing field itself, in terms of how you manage and you incorporate your strategy into the game, is how you do it. And those are things that are known throughout the league. So when someone cries foul, that means they're not talking about their team either when it comes to certain things that teams do, right? Everyone knows what the kickers do, the quarterbacks do, and all that stuff.
So if you're a voter, and so because I'm trying to make sense of how Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, if anyone ever should be, it's him. And so that this whole Spygate and all that stuff, you know, has come up, and like you've said, you know, everyone kind of, you know, straddles the line and pushes the envelope. Does that, if you're Herman Moore and you have a vote, does that keep him out on the first ballot?
No, based on the way that the system's working right now, he's in. There's no question he's a first ballot Hall of Fame coach that gets in. If he's not in, then who? You can't make. There's no way you can make a case around this. Having participated in 8 Super Bowls, but as a head coach winning 6, there's no doubt. If I told you there was a player who was a MVP and a Super Bowl MVP 6 times, and you tell me that person's not in there, and they have the stats and they have the winning record to go with it, there's no way you keep them off the ballot. And I think one thing I heard earlier, which was pretty important, because some of those other intangibles that, in my opinion, that people were talking about with Deflategate, Spygate, and all this stuff, you know, what about the other players that are on that team? What about the other people who maybe participated in what they're saying may be something that causes concern or a moment of pause for Belichick? Then you have to look at them as well. And I just know it's not going to happen. So you've created an issue because there's a panelist or there's committee members that are trying to work within the rules. First team, he's a first eligible ballot Hall of Fame coach, no matter how you shake it out right now, full stop. And like I said, the system is just broken, and what they need to do is fix that. And I think we need to get away, and I'll say this, the first ballot Hall of Famers. And I think you need to make sure you're cleaning up those backlogs. Again, I'm going to advocate, not just because it's myself or others, but you got to look at the list of players who were historic people in the game that still have not gotten their due. And for them to have to continue to wait, they've completely fallen off the list of visibility. They're not participating in today's social media era. They don't have social media campaigns and all these other things to go with it. And so I think, for one, I would start to look at changing some of that, and you just have to let some people wait, especially in the modern day.
You know, some people said, well, you know, clearly when Tom Brady left and before Tom Brady was there, Bill Belichick, you know, and that's a possible reason that it was the Brady impact. And I know your reference is, you know, should Tom Brady be held out or held to that same standard if the reason for Bill Belichick not getting in was because, you know, of these Spygate things and Deflategate, and certainly Tom Brady had an impact on that and was aware of it. I guarantee he was aware of it. So that, but for me, when people say, well, you know, it's you know, if you didn't have Tom Brady, you wouldn't be a Hall of Fame coach, you know. And for me, it's like, I thought it was one of the gutsiest and at the time dumbest things in the world when Bill Belichick kept Tom Brady in. You know, he had Drew Bledsoe, and it's like, wait, Drew Bledsoe should get his job back. He got injured, and he's your guy. He's the one you put on. And Drew Bledsoe was a great player. And to Bill Belichick's credit, you know, he for whatever reason, he stuck with Tom Brady all the way through, and it paid dividends for him. So, you know, he's responsible for Tom Brady. It's his decision as the coach. That was a Hall of Fame move for a coach, as opposed to, well, you know, Brady just made you who you are.
There's always those factors. And then I also look at when you're making a case for players who are in the Hall of Fame and some people that are raised above others, you got to look at their team as well. And there are players that will elevate a team, but there's also players will always elevate your Hall of Famers because they can never do it without the other 10. I don't care who you are. I don't care how great you are as a player. I don't care how bad your team was. If you don't have the other people, it doesn't matter. It helps when you have more, talent around you. It helps when you have coaching stability and you have all these other factors. And then also you look at the injury factor, which ones are having to work harder or worse, will a certain player survive in a different era versus now? There's all these factors that you can start to make cases for and against when it comes to this, because it's very subjective. There's no clear objectivity to how and why things happen and players get in. Then when you put it in the hands of a committee to say, I'm going to do it, now you're letting bias creep in, because I may not have done my due diligence. I may not have done my homework. I may not like you. You may have done something that you may have gone to a school I didn't like, and we've had a problem since then. I'm gonna hold that grudge. It's broken, period.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. The Super Bowl and the matchup. Is it hard for people to get excited about teams that maybe weren't necessarily on the radar at the beginning of the year? I don't think anyone thought these two teams would be in the Super Bowl. They don't have per se the big marquee names. I mean, the stories are incredible. The redemption stories, these young coaches, that have really turned things around quickly. But just your thoughts on this whole Super Bowl matchup. Do you like it? You don't like it? What are your thoughts about where this is this year?
It's not so much whether I like it or not, or like the teams that are participating. I see it more as who's deserving. Last two teams standing deserve it. And whether the fans agree or whether the media and the marketing heads agree, or the fanfare is irrelevant, because it's about who does what is necessary to get to the Super Bowl. These are the two teams that went through all the opponents. They went through their schedule. They went through the injuries. They went through the whatever's happening in their team, locker room, behind the scenes, upstairs in the organization. So that's why we go, teams can complain all day about what goes right or wrong in their locker rooms, what are right or wrong on their squad. But at the end, we all play the same game. And so that's the way I see it. And I try not to throw shade or worry about what's the best scenario or matchup, because quite honestly, it's not going to put money in my pocket one way or another. It only matters to those who have more money on the line. And I think those are the ones who I think give more concern to it. But having said that, looking at the two teams that are going to be there, I think there are great stories behind it. I think there's great ways to make it big and make the Super Bowl be meaningful. But you got to be willing to market the stories. You got to be willing to market what each team has had to do and where they came from in order to get to this spot. And I think that becomes what sells this year's Super Bowl.
I always get asked this question, and there's just all these questions all the time I want to ask you about. So people go like, do you have your favorite team, or, or how do you watch a football game, and what do you look at, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to ask you who your favorite team is, but I'm you can tell me
in the NFL
want.
Or just for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, in the NFL, just in the NFL. But it's more of like when you're watching an NFL game, how do you watch the game? Like, do you watch it from your position, like the wide receiver DB, or do you watch it like, I don't know, just how do you watch a football game?
I watch it for entertainment. I watch it for matchups. I watch it for storylines, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. You want to be in that conversation. I do watch the Detroit Lions, anytime I get an opportunity, because of my legacy there, my playing there. And I definitely watch the Pittsburgh Steelers because that was my team growing up, and I've enjoyed watching them.
Really?
I love the organization and
I didn't know that,
and everything about them. Oh yeah, big fan, and I don't shy away. I don't hide that. We all, I can be a Detroit Lion through and through. I can bleed blue, but black and yellow. When I get a chance to rock that, I rock that too. And it shows that I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of loyalty to my childhood, but also to the team that drafted me, and I won't shy away from it. So those are really the only two teams I pay a ton of attention to, and I pay a lot of attention to the North because that's the division the Lions are in.
Right. Yeah. I was almost going to say, I'll bet you, I had a favorite team growing up, and it was a really cool reason. And the Pittsburgh Steelers actually play into that, which is even cooler. I'll give you 3 guesses. I bet you can't guess my favorite team growing up.
I was going to say Indianapolis Colts. I don't know why.
No.
Let me see.
There's
You
one.
were born in Utah.
I was born in Utah, so there's no football in Utah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm gonna go East Coast, and I'm gonna probably go Philly.
Philly would be the last team on the entire earth, and I probably wouldn't even put them. I wouldn't even pick it if we were on a deserted island and they were the only team I could pick. I wouldn't pick the Philadelphia Eagles.
Come on, man. I mean,
No.
hey, Bill, I was with you.
No.
Listen, we all had a bad experience with Philly, so it can't be just because of that.
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, come on, man. Like I don't. The reason I like Wilbur Marshall, Harold Carmichael, Jaworski, and those guys. Like I used to, and Dick Vermeil. Like I watched those guys growing up. They were probably close, but it was Pittsburgh all day. It couldn't do Dallas, man. Even though I had a lot of family members, my uncles were there, and I think maybe that's what pushed me over to Pittsburgh. But I was a Dorsett fan. I was Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, all those guys, right?
Staubach.
Right, and Staubach, and Danny White, man. I became a Danny White fan too.
Yeah.
So,
right,
so I know you asked me to name guys now. I can name them, but if you want me to give you kind of their background and give you just kind of their brand aura and all that stuff, I can't do it as much as I could do it with those legacy players that I watch. Emerson Walls, these guys, man, they were. It was my guys. Lester Hay, when Lester would sit there with all the damn stick 'em on his hand, and he would sit there and be intimidating. I mean, come on, man. Yeah. Those are the days, man.
You got
legendary
one more
players, man.
One more guess.
Right, one more guess.
It's funny. Yeah, because all those guys.
East Coast.
I'll give you a hint.
Man.
It's not East Coast and it's not West Coast. So it's in the middle.
Man, now you really gonna make me just not like you.
Yeah.
It can't be in the Central or North Division. Please tell me.
Yes, it can.
Dude. Don't say Green Bay.
No.
I would say Green Bay is my Philly. So so I was ready to say, man, come on, man. Well, that only leaves either Chicago or Minnesota.
No, it's Central, but is it the NFC or is it the AFC?
That's a good point.
It's not the NFC. I'll just say that.
Not the Oilers, right?
The Houston Oilers.
The Houston Oilers, man.
Love you, blue.
Yeah, that power blue.
Let me tell you.
Chuck Cecil, man. I'm gonna tell you. Chuck Cecil was one of the only few safeties I was ever afraid of in the middle, and it wasn't because I was intimidated by his size. It was because I felt he really did not care about his body, and that he would do anything, even if it meant hurting himself or putting himself out. He was going to hit something.
Yeah, those are the guys you had to watch out for. The ones that just didn't care. So I'm 10 years old. I get invited to go to a Pittsburgh Steelers Houston Oilers game in the Astrodome. 10 years old. I go to this game. After the game is over, I get a game ball. And so this is this is Terry Bradshaw touched this football. Franco touched it. Lynn Swan, Jack and I had this ball. I still have it. It's just sitting right here in my office. And it was the coolest moment in my entire life. So I got Gifford Nielsen was a backup quarterback for the Oilers at the time. I played at BYU, and so my dad knew him through some business or whatever, and so he invited us to go to a game. I went to the Saturday walkthrough practice. I met all the players. I got a game ball, and I had it for all these years. So I have a Pittsburgh Steelers Houston Oilers game ball. But the cool part for me was it was how I learned to dream. It was like it just put in my mind that this is what I wanted to do, and I wanted to play in the NFL, and I wanted to. And so when we in 1995 went back to the Astrodome, and I went back to that same stadium, which I was so disappointed in 1995 because it was just absolutely, destroyed. It was a piece of garbage. The field, the whole thing. But at 10 years old, man, it was the coolest thing in the world. And so here I am, 1995. playing on the field that I dreamed of as a kid, that one day I'd be on that field, and there I was. So there you have it. That's who I see. I don't like to watch football. I can't watch it for entertainment. No, I can't watch it for entertainment because I've gotten so used to, and it's just been so ingrained in my head to watch it, to analyze it. And so I can't, and so I just watch it to, like kind of same lines, what's the storyline? What are they doing here? Why are they doing this? What would I do in this situation? And so it's not enjoyable. It's not like, oh, this is fun. I mean, it's not bad to do it. I'd rather watch basketball. I'd rather watch something else that, I really, I don't know, can't do or don't want to do, or, just some sport that's very interesting to me, but it's not that.
Yeah, I watch it, but it's for a different reason. Like I said, I watch it for analytics and because I like to analyze a lot of the stuff too. And, I like to get the information that's necessary for me to do some of my pre and post game reports. But for the most part, I watch it and I just go, man, I look at the coverage. I look at what they're doing. I will watch the positions. I will watch mainly the defensive side of it and see just kind of the athleticism of some of the players, which there are some really good athletes out there. But at the same time, I look at just the technique of it, and I look at how slow the game seems. I know it looks fast to a lot of people, but when you've played it and you've played it at a high level, the game doesn't move as fast as people think. And while they get, in awe about it, it's not to take anything away from them. No different than the current players look at our stuff and they may not be enamored by it, but for me, I'm not in awe. I just go, I see what they should have done and why did they even make that move and why is the coach making that move? And I'm with you on that. So there's some analyzing that I do, and I do kind of embed myself in it to where I don't get to enjoy it as much probably.
How much do you go back and watch old games?
I've been going back quite a bit lately, probably over the last year. Just because, because you don't get, it's shown based on certain elements of certain games. There's no team that really goes, hey, check out our history. So if you don't go look for your own history and you don't go look up your time, it's forgotten. History is forgotten. I actually did an article recently about that. And that if you don't revisit it yourself, you can wait for other people to do it or have a reason to go visit that history. But for us as players and understanding the commitment, when you really dial it back and you look at what the commitment was to be a professional football player, not just now, because now you can say, listen, my shoulder hurts, so I didn't sleep well, I got a cold. And I'm not being, coy when I say that. They may sit you out of practice and say, cool, take the time off, go rest up, go do what you got to do. Now we've seen that. Back then, it was like you had to go to practice and still work through injury. You had to go if you were good enough to go, even though you were hurt. It wasn't sitting out. Tape up your fingers, do whatever you got to do. And when I go back and I look and see what we're able to accomplish, and people not knowing that you're hurt probably 80% of the time, something's bothering you 80% of the time, and you still are performing at levels that are still in awe today, says a lot. And then you look across the line and you start to see Hall of Famer, Pro Bowler, and all these people you played against and post our career. You don't realize that the greatness you were playing around and that you're actually playing with these people you grew up looking at and you're there. And so I had a chance to meet real quick without digressing. I had a chance going out to Pittsburgh because Kevin Colbert, when he became GM, and Mike Tomlin, I got to know him and they introduced me to the Rooneys and those guys. And it wasn't because of that. It's because I decided to go to their camp because I was a fan. I had a chance to meet John Stallworth. That was my idol growing up. And that's why I wore number 82 in high school. And you start looking, go, man, I played at this level. And that's when the game has a different meaning to me beyond just watching who's going to do the best dance, who's going to score the most points for my fantasy thing. There's something bigger to it. There's dreams that you see out there on the field that have been accomplished. There's stories and a journey of these players that are there that gets missed because it gets watered down, because it's about who can sell another sports drink, who can come on there and do a dumb commercial that makes absolutely no sense. Someone's put millions of dollars in and the fans still don't trust it or believe it because you got a celebrity athlete doing it that you paid a lot of money to go in there and say something positive about your brand they never even do anything with. So it's like, what I'm saying? It's become so much that you've forgotten about the legendary part of the game and the people on the field. So I'm gonna stop there, man, because you can see where I go with it. And so that's why I watch it. When I pull the film, I don't care if it's grainy. I don't care if it's VHS. I don't care if it's a DVD. and people can make fun of the nostalgia, but that is the history of the game, man. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah. I actually, a lot of the reason why I do this is for the history of it. It's for the stories. It's for the backstory. It's for the, and every person that I've ever interviewed since I've been doing this, there's always something that comes out of it that you just go, that's just such a cool thing to hear about that person. You didn't know, you didn't know it about him. And to hear kind of how they would dream as young kids, or they had people that got interested in them and really helped them and really were pivotal in shaping their lives and them making it, to professional football or whatever it was. But it was, I love this. Like, to me, this is what, this is what this all is to me. In fact, because there's a question I want to ask you about, because I used to go watch, I still watch the film. YouTube's an amazing thing, by the way. And I watch
I
all
love
this
watching
stuff.
the games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Hey, you know what
And,
else I was gonna tell you real quick, Scott, is you know what, I go back and watch our film, they show you, especially on the television side, you'll come out of the huddle and they'll have the camera. They always show the quarterback. They never show like the receivers unless we drop a ball, we fumble, we do something bad, or a lineman. That's the only time we get up front. The quarterbacks, y'all are the dolls, right? So they show you coming out of the huddle, and every time I see you look over to the right, then you look over to the left, then you look back to the right, and about 90% of the time when you came back to the right, you said, am I going here or am I going here? And you're going, oh, I'm going here. And I was always over there on the right. And I just picked that up. I started looking at I'm looking at your eyes. And I'm going, we just had that talk about the telltale of tendencies. And then I sit there and I go, oh yeah. And then we on film and everything. People go, hey man, what is that when you're doing this and you're doing this and you're messing with your clothes and all this? I said, yeah, Scott knows what that is.
Yeah. So my grandma caught me swearing on TV because the quarterback's on TV so much. And so I had to learn. And by the way, I didn't ever swear until I went to Detroit. Like, I never said a swear word ever. And then I went to Detroit and I couldn't stop swearing. But my grandma said, did he say what I thought he said? And so I had to learn that the camera was always on, and you had to kind of, if you're going to swear, you had to do it under a towel. So that's when I had a towel while I was wiping my face, I was actually just cursing out whatever.
I don't think I've ever heard you swear. That's weird.
Yeah.
That you just mentioned. I'm like, God, I ever heard him? No, I don't think I ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. I try not to swear.
No.
Yeah, you don't swear that much.
I don't, yeah.
Go
ask those defensive backs. I talk a lot of stuff. I'm a wide out. I talk a lot of stuff.
You have to. So I'm curious, and because I had major routines, like, and I was very superstitious as a player, like, and this is another one of those things I've never asked you about. So what routines did you have, like, during the week, leading up to a game, and what were you superstitious about?
Oh my goodness. I was very superstitious about my gloves, and I had the worst of the worst gloves, because if people will remember, I had like Wilson gloves, and it's not a knock on the company. It's just that's what the glove technology was then. It was very slick. It gets wet here. It's terrible. Then it had the nylon or whatever it is on the sides and the back. So it was only half of the hand on the front was whatever that material was. And then on the back was all cloth. And I was like, man, I always had to make sure that they were even, because I was a hands catcher. And if it caught any part of the nylon, it just goes through your hands, right? So you had to have that type of confidence. So I had to make sure my gloves were good. And as I kept going through, and whether it was Nike, whether it's Reebok, whoever my sponsor was for that year, Newman, like, I had to make sure my gloves were right. The next part, I had to make sure my jersey was good, and make sure it was, we started putting that tape in that tactified tape or whatever, that double-sided tape.
Yeah.
Make sure that's real tight. Make sure I could raise my arms above my head. So I had to go in and give it kind of a, almost like you're tuning up your uniform. You had to make sure everything was right. Forget all about how it looks. I didn't worry about that. It had to operate right around my radius. Then the final part was I always had to take a nap before we go back out and before we go out to do our warm-up. So I would always come in early enough to take a shower. There's always a warm shower. Make sure you got my body nice and loose and everything like that, and made sure my muscle was nice and warmed up. And then I would go and take a nap for about an hour. and just put on
This is
music. I would
before a
always
game.
listen to old school. Before a game, it was always old school. That's why I was always sitting in my locker with the towel over my face, or I was even or in the training room on a table, and I would just lay back, put the towel on my face, and have my headphones on or whatever. And then when they said, you know, time to go out and get warmed up, go get warmed up, come back in for the 4-minute, throw on some DMX or something crazy. Like I had to go real, just old school, just something that was going to make me get really hyped up. At that time, it was either Jay-Z, it was DMX, it was something like I just get real hyped. And then it's time to run through the tunnel. You know, we had that big inflatable lion head with the smoke and everything you run through, and that was it. It was game on. It was ready to go. That was my ritual, man. Every week, and no breakfast. I didn't eat. I couldn't eat ever before a game.
So you had nothing before a game.
Nothing to eat.
Did you ever have anything like at halftime or anything?
Nope. Just water and or Gatorade, and that was it. And I would get nauseous. And true story.
No.
First home game, my rookie year. This is why I stopped doing it. I'd never played in front of this, and I'm like, this is a preseason game. You're not thinking it's going to be a lot of people there. Man, it was packed.
Right.
And I think it was San Fran or someone was playing in preseason, and I was in the huddle, and I leaned forward because I was nervous as hell. I was nervous, dude. And all of a sudden, boom, I threw up in the middle of the field. Everyone just kind of jumped back out of the way. They had it on TV, and you see everybody moving out of the way. And I was like, now I'm ready to go. And it was just, I was nervous, man. And so that's the last time I did the pregame meal.
See, I had to eat something, but it had to be super bland. And so, but it was always the same thing. I ate the same thing. I dressed exactly the same way every time. Cause I just freak myself out if I put my left sock on first and right or whatever way. And so I had to dress, you know, the whole process the same. It's interesting you fall asleep because I got so worked up, you know, I same thing. I got super nervous before games, and I realized that I needed to calm myself down because you go through there's just so much mentally, and you get to a point where your brain's ready to explode. And I found that I perform better when I just got in a really quiet place and I got my mind completely away from football. Like I just stopped thinking about the game. And it just helped me to quiet myself down because I knew I was going to be hyped up anyways. And it just kind of kept me at a level. And I started reading before games. So you're off sleeping somewhere and I'm off somewhere else and I'm reading, and it couldn't be anything that was related to football or you know, I couldn't get into some suspense thriller type of, it just had to be kind of light and entertaining reading is what I ended up reading.
Hey, why are you selling people short, man? What were you thinking, or you know, you didn't tell me that. And then also, what were you reading? You got to, you know, we're gonna sit out here. I gave you the detail. You're sitting here. You're kind of surfing, man. You got.
Well, I never
get
puked.
Water with me.
I just tell you.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. It turned out.
So I would read.
Probably
I would
a bad
read,
meal anyway.
I was reading autobiographies of like famous people. So like I read. I'll tell you the one that was kind of fascinating was Barbara Streisand.
Oh man, never mind, man. You're gonna lose credibility with everybody, man. Stop, Scott. Barbara Streisand. Not that I have anything against Barbara, man. And I'm not calling her BS either. I'm just telling you, man. Come on, man. Pick a different book, man. You pick.
Well, I did. I had other books. Walter Cronkite.
Even if you make it up.
Look, Walter Cronkite was in this. I'm not making this up. Walter Cronkite It was fascinating hearing about Walter. Yeah,
I like Walter.
And I had a Jimmy Stewart, you know, so I read Jimmy Stewart's autobiography. I read Patton was a little tough because but it was fascinating. Like these were you remember Saving Private Ryan, right? That kind of came out. And I started getting into military history and started reading military. I didn't read it during games because that would just get, you know, it's just, you know, I want to run through a brick wall after reading some of that stuff. And so
you started with Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, work my way to Jimmy Stewart. You know, that's how I work.
And won't you start with one of those? You could at least start it with Payton or something, man. You start. Hey, Scott, tell me what the first book I read, Barbara Streisand. No one's gonna let you live this one down. And yes, I'm going after you on this one.
Listen to me. This is why the show is called The Down and Dirty, because we give it, look, it's just, you may not like it. You may scratch your head on it and go, what were you thinking? All I know is that Barbara Streisand, let me give you some information about Barbara Streisand that you probably will find fascinating and compelling, because she is, I didn't know these things. She actually, you could not film her from anything other than her left side. So she had that in her agreements when she was an actress, that you had to shoot her from her left side, because that was her better side. And actually, I didn't notice this, and I looked into it, and she did look better on her left side. So that's something I've never forgot from that whole experience.
Of all the books you could read, that was the one you chose as an autobiography to read to get you ready
before an NFL game. Yeah, it is. And we're gonna have
to have a talk about this, man.
No, you need to understand. Like when I was in high school, Herman, I'm telling you, I couldn't go to school. Like, I would go home from school on a game day, and you talk about being nervous, and I was just so nervous before a game. And my coach, the only way he could settle me down was he would run quarterback sneak the first 2 plays of the game, because I just get so hyped up for a game. And I would get in the NFL, I was so juiced, and I was just like, I can't do anything. Like, I can't function. And I got to figure out how to get to a level that's like, where I can at least function, maybe run quarterback. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, reading, for whatever reason, just helped me calm my mind enough to where, okay, I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. And
you need to do a house party or something the night before. You got to figure out a way. You got to figure out another way, man. That just sounds like I don't want to say you put me to sleep, but that just sounds like you're doing the exact opposite of what you need to get done, man. Like, remember I told you, I said, listen, I calmed down. And not that you have to emulate me, man, because it's hard to be like me, because I'm pretty special. I'm a special person. Listen, so I said, listen, man, calm down. Got the shower, got the legs and everything nice and warm. I put on, a towel on my face to kind of go into my mind. I put on some old school music, whether it be Motown, whether it be Gladys Knight and, Motown, music or whatever, anything, man, something that's got me going to that legacy. And then all of a sudden I go out, do my come back in, boom, got my DMX. I'm ready to tear something up. I'm ready to go out here and wreck something and ready to go. And here you come out here wanting to shake hands and save people and burning buildings. Like, man, listen, Scott, you got to come in ready to go, man. If I had known that, I probably would have came over there, man, and I would have got you ready. You should have came to your boy.
You don't understand. I was ready.
I would have gotten you ready.
I was ready. I didn't need to get ready. I needed to just calm down. Now, I didn't read like right before I went on the field. It was that time in between the time when you just get thinking about the game too much, and it's like I had to get my mind away from the game for a minute. Now, yeah, when I was right before the game, what did you say? DMX?
No, man, DMX, man.
Yeah. See that.
Come on.
Then man. I would get in that mode. I was ready to play when it was time.
Because I already know who you are, man. You have that energy. I know you got to be in your mind. It got to be subliminal. I get it.
Right.
But we're gonna come back around to this one a different time, man, because we have to decode you, and I'm going to throw back some layers. We got to get into your fabric. We got to get into really who you are, because I know who you are, and you fool everybody else. Just like I'm not trying to fool anyone. I've broken protocol and character, and I'm trying to be this person. I'm a confident person. I'm a person who wants to go out and win. I'm going to go out and try to give my best. I'm going to have some trials and tribulations, but you know what? If I'm not out there trying for a great, then I'm not trying. Like, I can't do mediocre. Like, that's just not in my thing. Just go out there and get it done. I don't give a damn. You put me on the scout team, I'm out there trying to just go out there and make somebody feel bad. That's it. Come on, Bill. I know you. You better than that, man.
Me too. I don't
know, man. That sounds like you got probably some pianos playing or some classical music. You probably got some I don't know, man,
No.
some Spanish guitar or something playing before we go out. Nothing wrong with that. But
Okay.
you know, it calls for a different type of energy, man. You don't, you know what I'm
So
saying? You don't go drink
no,
chamomile tea
I
before
think
you're ready
you
to go to the game. You go throw one of those energy drinks in, man. You get ready to go.
I think you misunderstood this. Okay.
I ain't misunderstand nothing.
Well, I think you did.
I don't think I did.
And here's some. So I went to this appearance once when we were playing, and it was me and Barry, so the two of us. So we had to drive to the west
You had an
coast
opportunity
of
to do an appearance with the Barry Sanders,
the
one
Barry
we played
Sanders,
with.
that guy. Yeah.
I'd never did
Yeah.
I'd never done a signing with Barry Sanders, man. You must be a privileged brother.
And so and I'm thinking I'm going to be stuck in a car for 2.5 hours with Barry Sanders, who doesn't say anything. Like this is going to be the most boring. Like I'm going to have to carry the conversation. You know, like this guy's the quietest guy in the world. So we go on this little trip, and I can't keep Barry quiet. Like he's going on. Like he's telling jokes. He's telling dad jokes. You know, when that wasn't a thing when you were young. Like he was, and they were funny. They were funny jokes, and they were even funny where I couldn't even tell you right now because they were good jokes. And he said, you know, I grew up in this family. I was the youngest in my family, and I was so competitive. And he says, I'm so competitive now. He said, we would play games as a family, and I would cry if I lost. Like I just couldn't stand to lose, you know. And so I'm learning all this, and I'm like, man, that's just how I grew up. Like I was the youngest in my family, and if I lost the game, if I lost anything, I couldn't handle it, and I was just fiercely competitive. And it's even there today. Like it's just been a part of my DNA. Like it would drive me crazy in Detroit, Herman, that we did not win. Like, because all I wanted to do was win. That was it. When you talk about how you're wired, it's like I'm going to work my tail off. I'm going to do everything I possibly can do, and I'm going to put it all on the line every single week. You know, I lived in Detroit, Michigan. I went to that practice facility every morning at 6:30. Even during the off season, I was always there, and it was because I was determined to win. And so when we didn't win, it was just horrible. And it got so it's like it's almost at the point, my life now where I am. It's like, man, I hate it. I wish there were times I could turn off competitive. I mean, I get that way when I drive. I'm like, I got to get to where I'm going. I got to be the first one there. I got to, it really helped me to get to the NFL and kept me in the NFL. But it's also hard, hard to kind of know when to rein it back or to bring it all together. And I'll never forget that conversation I had with. I'm just like, man, Barry Sanders is just like I am. Like as far as his mind, and I did not know that because he never said anything. It's just like I was like, wow, okay, I learned something new today.
Well, I'm an unofficial counselor, man. So if you want, I can send you, $300 invoice for this session I'm giving you to let you sit here and tell me about all the things that went wrong with you, man. I feel bad for you, Scott. I feel I'm sorry to hear that, brother. That's just real bad, bro. You just man, nobody care about all that. I just want to know the stories, man. No, I'm just kidding. Scott, listen, here's the deal, man. I understand. All seriously.
So you never knew I went on a bro date with Barry Sanders.
Man, I never would have known that, man. And that he actually spoke.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
I'm telling you, he would not stop. I was like, dude, man, like I need a break for a minute. Like,
yeah, I spoke to him a few times. We were beside each other at the locker room and
right.
At our lockers. But great relationship, great teammate. As you mentioned, didn't speak much. But I will say this, people won't understand, and only those that have been privileged to play at that level. And it's not about, a lot of people say, I play, organized sports. I've done these things. I've been on teams. Yeah, that's true. But when you get to the summit of your career in your sport or your industry, it's different because you're sitting at the top. There is nowhere to go except succeed at that level. And then anything less than that, you're going down because there's nothing that elevates above it. And when we talk about it with such passion, we come from a place of perseverance. We come from a place of accomplishment, and there is no loser at that level. There's no losers at the NFL level. Now there is losing on the team side of it, and in the game itself, and wins and loss columns. But the accomplishment itself is amazing, and I wish that we could all celebrate it, because when we get there, we want to know that we have great careers at the level that we succeed. But the success has happened. We're just trying to extend it at that point. So to that, I still say send me my $350 for the session. But I just wanted to leave you with that, so that you would have some resolve in knowing that, you know what, Scott, you did okay. You did well. You were an NFL pro football quarterback for not just one franchise, not just two franchises, not just three franchises. Brother, you went to at least 4.
And I should have gone to the Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way.
I was going there, but they took Terrence Mathis, which I appreciated. They need a slot receiver when the Lions let me go. But I always enjoy the stories, and I love sharing those with the fans. And I think there's a lot of us as players that should share more stories on what happens behind the scenes, good and bad. But I think the people will appreciate it more, getting to know, like I said, I always say, the brand ethos and the fabric of the player, because then when you're following them or you're listening to them, it takes them beyond whether or not they won something, versus these are people that accomplished some things that a lot of our young people are aspiring to do.
Yeah, and I mean, the NFL, there's 32 teams and only one of them wins a Super Bowl. I mean, the odds of winning a Super Bowl are so minimal. It's just hard. It's just hard. But it is a real accomplishment to go and play. And I'm very proud of my career and everything that happened. But I'm just telling you, man, there are some things that still eat at me today, and it's from that competitive side of things. And it just, I'll never let them go. And I've just learned to accept that that's just the way it is. So if you want to send me your Venmo, I'll shoot you over $300 because it's been worth it. It's been worth it to tell you these stories.
We'll make sure I send it to you, because I got some nice little restaurants around here I like to go to. But I will say this: you had talked earlier, real quick, about when we were, living over near where we were playing in the stadiums and those things. Why you never invited me out, man? You were at the private golf course, man. You had the thing. You were living right around the corner. And your club was right behind my house. And it's like, dude, you never once told me and brought me out one time. I think you saw how really good of an athlete I really was, even though golf wasn't my sport. And that's the last time you invited me out there.
Actually, that was my bad. It really was. I appreciate
it, man. You're a man of character. I appreciate that.
It was. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, because I should have invited you every day. It would have been.
Never flew on your plane. You were a pilot. People don't know that about Scott.
I don't think you wanted to go on my airplane.
Scott flying airplanes, and then never say, hey, man, hey, WR1, receiver 1. Why don't we go up, man, and just fly around? I got my little plane and stuff. Never.
I'll just tell you, you'd had a ball, man. I'm just telling you, if I'd have known, I would have. I did not know. It's it's totally my fault. It is.
I appreciate that. It was. Yeah. I'm on.
Well, come out and see me, and we'll go. My son actually is going to be a pilot. My youngest son, he's in school to be a commercial pilot. So you come out to Utah, and we'll go fly in an airplane. I'll show you some of the most beautiful country in the world. So
okay,
we'll do that. After I give you 300, it's been worth. I'll pay you $300. It's been worth it today. So.
All right, yeah, same time, same channel.
All right, that's all we have for today. I've really enjoyed this, as always, Herman. This has been the Down and Dirty, and hope you have a great day. Thank you, Herman, for being a part of our show. Until then, we'll see you then.